Local homeboy Taylor Fritz beat Rafael Nadal in straight sets nonetheless in the Indian Wells 2022 final. The man from California just played some really good tennis, and he's played some fantastic tennis throughout the whole tournament, to say the least. It's his biggest title win of his career. It's an ATP 1000, well, Masters 1000 tournament win. And I think it's his first final as well, from what I know as well in a Masters tournament. So impressive one-on-one for him. 2 hours and 6 minutes, need to seal the victory. And yeah, I mean, he was pretty damn impressive to say the least. We'll get the stats up as well in a second, of course, to go through that. For Nadal, he definitely was walking around a little bit gingerly. That's not taking away anything from Fritz's win, but it definitely would have been some type of factor into how the match went. Um, I think he had some issue with his pectoral muscle in the previous match against Alcaraz. It looked like he was struggling really with his first serve in terms of hitting it with enough pop. I mean, on average, he was hitting his first serve around the 120 mark throughout the whole tournament. And then he came to the final and he was hitting it just above 100. So there's almost a 20 mile per hour decrease there on the first serve. On the second serve, there was a 10 mile per hour decrease from 100 miles per hour to 90. So I think that obviously then plays a part as well. He did, I think, start to feel a little bit more comfortable and kind of warmer into his body as the match went on, which is understandable. But yeah, I think for me, end of his 20-match winning streak, it would have actually been quite fitting if he managed to get 21 wins because he has 21 slams now. But yeah, it was a really good performance by Taylor Fritz, taking nothing away from the young American. He does continue to impress. I mean, he gets better and better and better for me. And look, the win against Rublev was really impressive, I thought, as well. To do it in straight sets, Rublev was unbeaten, I think, in 11 matches going into that match. So that was, yeah, a really impressive win from Fritz. And Rublev in some fantastic form. But yeah, Nadal's run completely shattered by the American. And yeah, 20-match winning streak, of course, including Australian Open, Acapulco 500 event, and also that Melbourne Somerset warm-up event as well. It's the best start he's ever had since turning pro in 2001. And Fritz managing to win, and that meant actually equaling the head-to-head at 1-1. He's only 24 years of age, and he'll move up as well to number 13 in the world, which is not too bad, eh? Not too shabby at all. He'll be, you would imagine, if he continues in this type of form, knocking on the top 10 very, very soon. Um, it's interesting because Nadal won't be playing Miami as well next week. Fritz will be. So let's see how he goes in terms of taking his momentum into that. He did have a slight ankle issue as well that he had against Rublev. I think he just tweaked it slightly. There were actually big doubts about Fritz playing the final because in the warm-up, the initial warm-up he did, or practice session even, sorry, he pulled up after 5 minutes, but then he came back later in that day, or earlier, sorry, even before the match day, and he was practicing okay, but he's quite ginger as well. So let's see. Let's see how he goes in Miami. I would imagine he might be a bit tired as well, to say the least. But for Nadal, it was a interesting week. Quarter in the first round. I mean, he was 5-2 down in that quarter, serving for the match. Somehow managed to come out of that. Then, of course, he played people like Apelka, Kyrgios. I mean, that was a fantastic match against Kyrgios in 3 sets. I mean, Kyrgios could have won that, to be perfectly honest with you, in that deciding set. But Nadal somehow managing to find a way. And then against Alcaraz as well. Again, lost the second set, and he just thinking, oh, Alcaraz is starting to come on strong here. Again, somehow found a way. His net play, I don't want to say it's been really good this week because I think it's always good, to be fair. It's one of the most undervalued and underrated parts of his game, Rafa's. And I think as he's gotten older, he utilizes it, of course, more and more to try and shorten points and try and be more tactical and smarter in the points as well. He doesn't want to just be grinding from the back of the court. If there is an opportunity to come to the net and finish off the points, then that is what he should be doing. Now, I think obviously with the injuries, he wasn't quite hitting the ball with as much vigor as we saw in previous rounds. I think, to be fair, the whole tournament he wasn't playing particularly well, to say the least. As I was slightly surprised he even made the final, given the first couple of matches. But he just found a way, and if he'd won here, it would have been, kind of a classic win from one of the big three, where they haven't played the best tennis, but they've just managed to play well enough on the big points and maneuver their way into a position of victory, which would have been extremely, extremely impressive. So let's see how Nadal goes. He'll rest up. Of course, he'll be back for the Monte Carlo Masters. So the start of the clay court swing for Taylor Fritz. He'll be hoping this is the start of what a kickstart really to his career now. At 24 years of age, he in a year or so he won't be called kind of a young player anymore. He'll be seen as someone who's starting to come into his prime. So this is a really, really good start at 24 years of age to win this Masters 1000 tournament. An interesting stat as well. I think for the last 4 years we've had a new Indian Wells Masters champion. So I think obviously Nori last year, teams on that list as well, and there's someone else who I've completely forgotten. But yeah, so there's been 4 different champions each time, which is interesting to say the least. Obviously, it's a pretty tough, I think, tournament to play at, and clearly a special one at that. In terms of the actual match, I think Fritz just came out absolutely blitzing the ball, to say the least. He was crunching it left, right, and centre, backhands, forehands. He broke Nadal straight away. And then he actually got the double break as well, which was really impressive. He did get broken back once by Nadal, but then managed to close it out. Let's actually bring out the stats instead of me just talking about that. But to be honest with you, it was just the way he was crunching the ball was just really impressive to see. Something about, I think we've seen more and more from Taylor Fritz as I think we've seen it definitely more and more as time has gone on, and he's become more comfortable in his game. I see there 6-3, 7-6 as well. Really held his nerve, I thought, on the tiebreaker for sure. And if you look at this kind of match stats, 2 aces for Nadal, 1 for Taylor Fritz, 3 double faults each. First set percentage of 67% for Nadal, 64% for Taylor Fritz. But what's really the biggest stat is not that Nadal's slightly edged him here, it's here in the first serve points won. You can see here normally Nadal has a much higher first serve points won percentage, but the reason why it's not as high is because his 1+ shot just wasn't as effective and as lethal, because he, one, to be fair, he wasn't crunching the ball, he wasn't timing the ball as well as he'd like because of the slight discomfort probably. But 2, I think it was also to do with the fact that Taylor Fritz was returning really well. So the serve wasn't particularly potent, and that meant that Fritz is returning. He didn't just sit back and say, oh, okay, I'm just going to make a kind of standard return. No, he was on the front foot all the time on the return, trying to make sure he was getting the ball as deep as possible with as much kind of pace on it as possible as well. Give Nadal as little time on that 1+ shot. And it worked. It worked a treat throughout the match, I thought. His backhand as well, like he doesn't seem to have massive issues. Obviously, the biggest issue when playing Nadal for a right-hander is the backhand side, and how you're going to deal with the lasso heavy topspin forehand into that backhand side. It's going to completely, pop up on you, almost shoulder height. How well are you going to be able to combat that? Are you comfortable taking the backhand that high and being able to almost, take it earlier there? Well, you say early, as in if you don't take it early, it's going to be rising even more. So are you happy to take it on the rise like that? Now, there are some players that are happy doing that, and others that are quite uncomfortable doing that. That's why they've got really bad records against Nadal. But for Taylor Fritz, his backhand actually is very, very solid. In some ways, almost better than his forehand, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. In terms of, I almost feel like it's slightly more solid than his forehand, but maybe not as potent, if that makes sense, in terms of danger. The forehand, I mean, he's crunching forehands at 90 miles per hour for that first set on average, which is just ridiculous. I mean, he was absolutely crunching it against Rublev as well. There's a stat which showed that he was actually hitting his forehand bigger than Rublev, and Rublev has one of the biggest forehands on tour. So the fact that Fritz was hitting the ball cleaner than Rublev and kind of at much larger pace than Rublev, which of course, yes, paces and everything, but I think it just highlighted the fact that Fritz is really seeing the ball well, for one. And for two, he clearly has the ability to possess some incredible power. And the best thing I think about Fritz as well is that he doesn't hit the ball really flat either. He does hit with good clearance, with good topspin, and with good depth. And so it's almost just the perfect combination when it all clicks into place. And that's kind of what we saw for large parts of this match and this whole tournament, to be fair. But yeah, the backhand held up really nicely against the Rafa Nadal forehand. And I think that will be something that, look, we've seen Novak has a similar thing. Like the backhand holds up pretty well against the Nadal forehand as well. And I'm not going to say Fritz's backhand is as good as Djokovic's, but it's not a bad two-hander to say the least. So that was a really good point. Well, it's a really good, sorry, even pattern of play that Fritz managed to, yeah, just capitalize on for the most part. And Nadal didn't have many easy service games, to be perfectly honest with you. Fritz was really, really good, I thought, on the return games. And then with the serve, he's able to serve at 140 miles per hour in corners. Is probably a better spot server than Nadal. It just was never going to be a good combination. I think with Nadal's serve being down, being uncomfortable as well. Ironically, a lot of people were worried about Fritz more, but it wasn't. He looked okay, he looked physically fine. For Nadal, he didn't. I think that definitely played a part, of course, tactically, but for Fritz, he was very professional. He got it done really well as well. So well played to him. And you can see a breakpoint saved 80% for Fritz, which is really impressive. Yeah, I just think overall it was a good, very, very good match played from Fritz, to be perfectly honest with you, and he'll be happy with it. He'll be going into Miami with a lot of confidence, and also we'll see how he does on the clay. I mean, probably not the type of surface that he's going to be looking to go, looking to win in his career, I would say. But you never know. You never know. He could potentially do it, and if he was to, it would be a fantastic win on a CV at some point in his career. But Roland Garros, probably the surface doesn't quite suit his game, but we'll see how he does there as well. But first, he'll be looking towards Miami. For Nadal, a chance to rest and then try and conquer the clay court swing. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Do appreciate it. Please do remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform, do remember to subscribe, to follow us, and all that good stuff. Also, do check us out on Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel even further, and also on Discord as well, just if you want to get involved in discussions and chats. That's free, the Discord server, of course. The link's in the description to the video. And in addition to that, we do have an exciting opportunity about potentially joining the team in some capacity. Please do check our community tab on YouTube and have a look for that post, and do email us at qualityshot.f@gmail.com. Emails in the post as well if you are interested, and we can have a chat and see if we can make something work. Thanks very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and I'll see you on the next video.